Okay, hello everybody, I'm ToeGrinder. This is going to be my guide for Arcane Mage in patch 10.2. I'm going to start off straight away with the talents. All of the talent import strings will be linked in the description, as well as the written guide where you can always find the most up-to-date talents. In the spec tree, nothing's changed. We're still playing Mana Gem, Radiant Spark and Siphon Storm. And in the class tree, I've just picked up a fairly generic build where you get like a bit of everything, although you can min-max this on specific bosses if you want. Whenever it comes to Cleave in Raid, you want to pick up the 2 charges of Arcane Orb and Orb Barrage, along with making Arcane Barrage Cleave. And then whenever it comes to Mythic Plus, nothing really changes except you're picking up this Arcane Explosion talent, which is super important. And then in the class tree, I'm picking up all the random bits of utility that you'll find are useful in Mythic Plus. You won't need all of these in every dungeon, but as far as a sort of generic build goes, this is pretty good. Remember, if you're ever in a situation in which you need the immunity from Ice Block, you're going to need to drop Ice Cold, although I do recommend taking it unless you really need the immunity. Okay, I'm going to be splitting the rotation section of this guide into a couple of different sections. So starting off, I'm going to go over the Big Burn and the Mini Burn, then the Opener, Filler Rotation, AOE Burn, AOE Mini Burn, AOE Filler, and then I'm going to finish off with stats and gearing. So you can use the timestamps along the bottom to skip the different sections. So there are some things to note before I get into the actual rotations themselves. So the first off is that you want to enter the Big Burn whenever Evocation, Radiant Spark, Arcane Surge, and Touch of the Magi are all off cooldown, and you enter the Mini Burn whenever Radiant Spark and Touch of the Magi are off cooldown, but Evocation and Arcane Surge are still on cooldown. And in this guide, I will also refer to cancelling Arcane Missiles casts to make use of Nether Precision. One thing to note is that whenever you acquire the Season 3 tier set, whenever you have the Arcane Artillery buff that buffs Arcane Missiles, you never want to cancel Arcane Missiles whenever you have this buff, so keep that in mind. Okay, starting off with the Big Burn, we begin by channeling Evocation, then we cast Arcane Orb, Nether Tempest, Radiant Spark, and then we cast Arcane Blast 3 times up until 2 stacks of Radiant Spark. Then we cast Nether Tempest again, Arcane Surge, and at the end of the Arcane Surge cast we use Mana Gem plus Trinkets. Then we cast Arcane Blast again. At the end of this final Arcane Blast we queue an Arcane Barrage. The reason we do that is so that both spells benefit from the 4th stack of Radiant Spark. And then we use Touch of the Magi with the Barrage in the air. During Touch of the Magi we prioritise Arcane Blast with Nether Precision. Then after that we cast Clear Casting Arcane Missiles, and then we fill with Arcane Blast if we've nothing else to do. At the end of Touch of the Magi, you can use Presence of Mind to fit in an instant Arcane Blast as the last spell into Touch of the Magi, as you can see I do here. So the Mini Burn is the same, except we want to replace Arcane Surge with an Arcane Blast and Nether Tempest 1 spell later. So you can see I start off with Radiant Spark, I Arcane Blast 4 times up until 3 stacks of Radiant Spark, Nether Tempest, Arcane Blast and Q and Arcane Barrage on the end again, and Touch of the Magi with it in the air. You'll notice that I'm cancelling Arcane Missiles all the time in this guide to cast Nether Precision Arcane Blast sooner. This is a DPS gain because Nether Precision is so powerful. And then at the end of Touch of the Magi, you can see I'm doing the same trick to sneak in Arcane Blast with Presence of Mind. Okay, I'm going to show you an opener in real time. So you can start off by Mirror Image and Evocate Pre-Pull, Precast Arcane Blast, and then Arcane Orb. Before we enter our burn, we actually want to spend a bit of mana with Arcane Blast and Arcane Missiles. The reason we do this is because Arcane Surge is going to give us all our mana back anyway, and so by casting spells before we enter Arcane Surge, we're just being more efficient with our mana. Not every fight will allow you to do this. Sometimes you need to enter your cooldown straight away, but it'll be a fight-by-fight basis. And then the rest of the rotation here, I'm just doing the same. You can see I'm cancelling Arcane Missiles early to Arcane Blast, and then Presence of Mind to get my Arcane Blast into Touch of the Magi. Okay, once your cooldowns are done and you enter the filler rotation, you want a shifting power immediately. During the filler, you're just going to be casting Arcane Blast up to 4 charges, spend all your procs, and then barrage back down to 0. So as you can see here, I build up to 4, I spend my clear casting, I spend the associated nether precisions, spend clear casting again, 2 arcane blast, etc. The reason we do this at high arcane charges is it's just more efficient conversion of mana into damage, but you can't do it all the time because you'll just run out of mana. So you can see I'll try and float at around 50% mana while always making sure that I spend my procs at high arcane charges if possible. If you find that you're running out of mana or you're getting lots of procs, then you might need to arcane barrage early, like I do here. Then I wait until I'm back up at 4 arcane charges before I spend the clear casting again. And then you just want to repeat this until your cooldowns are back. See, I barrage because my orb's off cooldown and I can recover the charges pretty quickly. And then get up to 4 charges and then spend my procs. Okay, showing off the Arcane AOE Burn, we start off with an evocation as normal. I'm going to Radiant Spark into Arcane Orb, Nether Tempest, Arcane Surge, and then at the end of the Arcane Surge cast we're going to use our Mana Gem and Trinkets. Barrage, Touch of the Magi with the Barrage in the air, and then we're going to Barrage again, and then you have a chance here where Orb Barrage can proc. If Orb Barrage does proc, then it's going to consume your Radiant Spark and put you back at 4 charges, and you just enter the Touch of the Magi rotation as normal. If it doesn't proc, you just cast Arcane Orb, go to 4 charges, consume Radiant Spark, and go into the Touch of the Magi rotation. The Touch of the Magi rotation is pretty simple. You just barrage at 4 charges and then explosion up to 4 charges. And you consume your Arcane Missiles tier set proc if you get it in here. Okay, now I'm going to show the Arcane AOE Mini Burn. So to start off, you're going to Radiant Spark, Arcane Orb, Nether Tempest, and then Barrage plus Touch of the Magi. From this point onwards, you're just going to be trying to barrage at 4 charges. So if you barrage and your Orb Barrage procs, then you just barrage again. If you get to the point where your Orb Barrage does not proc, you Arcane Orb and then barrage. So you can see I get pretty lucky. Once we're in Touch of the Magi, again, we're just Arcane Orbing and Arcane Explosioning up to 4 charges, and then at 4 charges, we're pressing Arcane Barrage. Okay, showing the AOE Filler phase. It's pretty simple. Again, you want a Shifting Power as soon as your cooldowns are done, and then the priority one you want to follow is Arcane Barrage at 4 charges, and then Orb and Explosion to get the 4 charges. So you can see here, I Orb, Barrage, and then I'm going to cast Arcane Explosion to get up to 4 charges, because I'm out of Orb charges. Barrage again. My Orb Barrage procs, so I just Barrage again, and then Explosion back up to 4, and Barrage again, and then you just rinse and repeat this until your cooldowns are back up. Okay, whenever it comes to stats and gearing, always remember that you should always sim yourself using raid bots to compare stats and gear, but in general, crit and mastery are your best stats, although item level will very often be an upgrade. Whenever it comes to trinkets, you want Balefire Branch from Dungeons, Waycrest Manor, and you want Bellerelos from the raid. Whenever it comes to crafting, you want Shadow Flame Armor Patch on 2 items. Generally, I recommend crafting this on smaller budget items like bracers, belt, and feet so that you don't have to upgrade them. And you want to craft a weapon as well if you don't have access to good weapons via Mythic rating or High Mythic Plus, because it's a very, very stat efficient slot. Okay, that's me for this guide. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you do have any feedback for this guide, do let me know in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, do like and subscribe. And remember, always check out Mage Hub for the most up-to-date stuff. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye bye.